But what I do like about WCAG2 and now hopefully the rewrite of 508 that will be due who knows when, is that it does add quantitative testable requirements, like the thing I mentioned about the contrast ratio. You know, it actually gives it as a number, this to this, and you can plug the colors into any one of these computers, these calculators, and it'll give you the answer whether or not it's sufficiently contrasting. And of course, the thing we all love is that, at least my understanding is, if you want to get an ISO standard to work from, you got to pay big bucks to get it. And from what I could tell, out of the WC3 site, is WCAG, otherwise known as ISO 40500:2012, is free because it's all out there. So yay for the little guys once. We're getting the home stretch here. Strategies for removing obstacles, and I'm specifically going to pick on Word and my friend PowerPoint here as we do this. But I like Stephen Covey, and as you may recall, he said, "Seek first, understand, then to be understood," and that's what we need to do when it comes to preparing stuff for widespread use by not only people that have all their God-given faculties from the moment they were born to those who are working with difficulties. So what we've done tonight kind of is learn a little bit about disabilities and typical coping behaviors that are employed to help overcome them, and a little bit of understanding of how technology can assist with and how it can thwart your efforts. So, the other thing, and we're kind of a little handicapped where I work in this regard too, is that we have to go on faith on a lot of things, because for some silly reason the lab that houses all this assistive technology is back in Maryland, and none of us have been given a plane ticket to go back there and try it. So we just we've had to work with what we know and what we can find out and what we're able to discern from a little bit of logical examination of our products. And maybe along the way, and especially I'd ask you to help me with this, if you have some specific examples or can think of some opportunities that maybe you hadn't thought of before tonight, is how accessibility can be a business marketing practice. We already know it's a regulatory issue, and I think we all have a sense that it's really the right thing to do. So, this I got the 4 points right out of the book, so to speak. In order for us to consider our accessibility work a success, we have to produce a product that is perceivable, operable, understandable, and robust. Because there's kind of a brave new world, I think, about ready to hit. There's only a few technologies, for example, that do good screen reading. But as this develops, I think there's bound to be some people that come along and figure out ways to do it even better. So that's where I see the term robustness coming in. Let's see. Okay, so here's here's a few of the basic rules in producing accessible documents. We have to have an appropriate document structure. This is already mentioned why this. You've given us a good first-hand example of why this is important. Our tables have to have headers on them, because what are we trying to convey with a table? It's a matrix of information, usually data, and this point here, when it intersects with this point here, it gives us this data. And we need to be able to, when we're in that box, we need to be able to know where we are in the grid. And that's it's just necessary. We've, let's see. Oh, create useful alternative text, which is been talked about. How many people grew up with a typewriter? Probably just everybody here, right? How many people still use their word processor like they have a typewriter in front of them? You know, I need some more white space. Enter, 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 enter. Those are some habits.
Only on PowerPoint.
Yeah. Well, you know, there's a way to do PowerPoint. It's a little more sanitary. And you know, without getting into all the whys and wherefores, there's reasons why that's not the best approach. And the same thing when you need space across the line or something like that, or you're trying to organize stuff in a certain way. There's ways to do it. Unfortunately, it's going to take a little bit of digging. Don't use color all by itself to convey meaning. Why? There's actually two reasons. One is the colorblind person might not be able to discern it. But the other thing that I've found out is, by and large, assistive technology that reads pages pays never mind to color. So you can't say, you know, the stuff in red is new because it doesn't see red. You can't say the stuff that's struck out is old either because it doesn't see strikeouts. It just loves to read words. It doesn't care how they're decorated.
What it does is it doesn't read the rich text.
Yeah.
It just reads the text.
Yeah. Write clearly and simply. That goes again to your point, right, about structure. And we want to, as much as possible, use internal cross-references, and where necessary, external cross-references, typically to the web. Don't use external cross-references to another document on your C drive, because when you hand that over to somebody, they're not going to be able to get to it. And we want to avoid spatial representations. That's a term I coined to mean pointing arrows at things, doing call-outs and stuff. Things that to our eye, oh, we can see the logical grouping, but we have to realize that we need to describe the logical grouping in order to be compliant. Okay, so the document structure point in Word, have you seen all these terms before? Sections and subsections, appendices? For some crazy reason, at IHS, they want to call the plural of appendixes. And I kind of think that's what's in the operating room after the appendicitis, or sent to the lab, I guess, for biopsy. But, you know, whatever. Numbered and bulleted lists. This is just like in HTML, you know. Numbered lists are called ordered lists, and bulleted lists are called unordered lists. And it's important to use those things, not just stick a dash out of the front of the line, because if you just do it that way, the reader typically loses context of where you are. Oh, I'm in a list of things that are equals, you know, rather than just words. In PowerPoint, it's a little less sophisticated, but one of the things that kind of corresponds to headings and subsections and all is to really be useful. A PowerPoint presentation, every page, every slide has to have a heading on it, you know, because that labels the page. And by and large, they need to be unique, you know. I mean, I realize that we all get into situations where we have this topic, page 1, this topic, page 2, this topic, page 3, because there's so many things in there. And that slides should be numbered with a presentation name or some kind of identifying factor in the footer. Tables, in both cases, both Word and PowerPoint have table tools. Use them to their fullest. Set up heading rows on the columns, definitely, and sometimes you have heading rows on your, or headings on your rows, a heading column on your rows. Use those because they provide that, if you're familiar with HTML, that TD, table definition, table cell, all that kind of notation, so that the assistive technology knows what it's looking at. And tables with invisible borders and no headings are okay for formatting stuff, you know, in a tabular kind of a way. with some space in between it, but I just found out last week that there still needs to be a little bit of processing done on those things in Adobe for them to work correctly. In Word, there's a couple ideas. Need to set those table headings, and the other thing is to prevent rows from splitting across the page. So you get those tall rows. They need to all stay on one page, because otherwise, the biggest chunk of things that most screen readers deal with is the page. And when it gets done with the page, it's like, I'm done with this page. It can be the new page, and oh, new page. Well, where's the first column entry on this? Because to us and to the logic of the program, it's a bleed over from the previous page, but to a simple page reader, it's a whole new table.
Which is understanding how Word does tables and setting the right conditions in the table, so it does that correctly, rather than just letting it run over.
Yeah. The other problem, though, I found that if you have a lot of big rows in a table, and you can get in a situation, or even like where somebody's made a massive row, it can actually bleed off the bottom of the page, and it disappears. It doesn't show up on the next page. So you got to